take even 3 minutes to breathe down, lower belly breathing, what happens is a physiological trigger, which moves us from sympathetic fight or flight nervous system directly into parasympathetic rest and digest. If you don't learn how to go to that space, I don't care how much kale you eat, I don't care how much coconut oil you slather all over yourself, you are not allowing your body to go into a place where it can heal.
Getting the radio voice. My next guest is a man with many titles. He is the founder of well.org, author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Urban Monk. He created 3 documentaries. The latest one coming out is called Prosperity. Returning guest back to the stage, Mr. Pedram Shojai.
Hey.
How you doing? Doing well, man. Doing well. Excited for round 2 here. I think we talked this time last year.
Has it been that long? Man.
Yeah. It was when Origins came out.
Yeah. Well, when Origins came out, so it was like late 2014. But no, we came on a little, like we were in 2015 with you for sure. So yeah. It's good to be back.
Yeah. I was looking at your workload before this. I mean, you launched the Urban Monk. You're coming out with Prosperity. You've been a very busy man this year. So what's it like going from a book to a documentary now? Like you're you're just go.
Yeah, it's just this like there's so much work to be done that there's no rest for the weary, and for me this movie is making itself. I just got to like plug myself in and keep kind of moving my feet, and it's an important project to me. So at the end of the day, you get up and you're going to fight your fight. So is it going to be a small one or a big one, and is it worth getting out of bed for? And for me, things that I get out of bed for nowadays are they're serious projects, and I just, they take a lot of energy. And so I have to take better care of myself. I got to, find work-life balance and all that. But, I love what we're doing. And so, it's not really work. You just get up and do it.
Yeah. So the Urban Monk came out this year, right?
Urban Monk came out in February. And, did the whole like kind of traveling circus for a little bit. But, I told him I'm not going to go on book tour because I have a 6-month-old. So, back engineer that, I just had a little baby at home. And so a couple small kids and, I don't want to be that dad.
Right.
So I didn't travel as much, and, it still did phenomenally well. It's a bestseller and all that. But, it's because the tone is very familiar, and it really speaks to what people are stressing about nowadays. It's like we don't have time for anything, and we are kind of wound up about all this like self-care and what the hell are we supposed to do about it? And everyone's just throwing all kinds of like thou shalt nots, and it's so hard to even know what to do right, let alone do anything. And so, I just had to dispel some of that. And I'm a bit irreverent. So the book's got a cool tone and people liked it.
Yeah. So on the Urban Monk, if this is someone's first time hearing Pedram on the call, they didn't hear our last call, how would you kind of describe your story for the person out there?
Sure. I was a Taoist monk for 4 years. I'm an ordained priest and abbot of a esoteric kind of Qigong lineage. I've also traveled with the Dalai Lama. I mean, I've been around the block, and I kind of did the Eastern studies, and I realized asking normal people to meditate an hour and a half a day and do all the things that I had the luxury of doing is absolutely unreasonable. And it's because they're householders and not ascetics. And a householder has to deal with bills, has to deal with reality. And so how can I help bring the mountains back down to the towns and help normal people just have a better outlook on life? Because our burn rate is jacked, right? And so it's like we all think, I'm going to catch up this weekend. I'm going to catch up, on my vacation. I'm going to catch up here when I retire. And that's an unsustainable approach to a lifestyle that we've all been kind of thrust upon, which is just tearing at us in every direction, whether it's, toxic chemicals in the environment, overwhelming amounts of stress, not enough time for anything. It's just if you don't find balance daily, you're pretty much screwed. And so, I had to really step in and be like, look, don't just read the tabloids because, 6 ways to get a 6-pack and have better sex is not really reality. And that's really cute, but that's clickbait. So what's reality? Reality is, here's simple shit that works, right? Yeah. And, people who do it do better.
Listicles, those are the big things.
Oh my God, man. It's just, it's tragic, right? It's just, it's everything wants to be kind of diluted down to something that's useless. Yeah. And that's the culture we live in. And, so the Kardashians, why are they winning? Like, because people kind of race to the bottom and then they wonder why they're not feeling well.
The 18 things you're going to get out of this podcast.
Right.
With Pedram. Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's just, everyone's kind of like, well, that's what works. And I'm like, well, screw that. Let's change that. Because what works is meditation. What works is taking a walk. What works is the normal stuff that we know. But because like meditation was already talked about 6,000 years ago, like I need meditation 3.0. Oh, you should get like the Pedram meditation. It's newer, better, faster, more efficient. Right. And it's just like, no, meditation. That's cool. Like you should just do that. Yeah. Right? It's always worked. Like I don't need my brand of meditation. I just need people to chill the hell out.
The Soylent of meditation.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm hearing then is the book and the practices is taking that ancient stuff and applying it to the modern world, which is what paleo is attempting to do, or ancestral health or real food movements. We're looking at what worked in the past and how do we incorporate it in our modern world, because it's toxic now. It's a different place. Like you were saying, we have chemicals, we have all these different things floating around. Even traffic is not normal. Everything we do on a day-to-day basis. And so, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or stop me whenever, but so it's taken all the ancient wisdom and modifying it to fit our modern world.
Yeah, and without diluting it, right? In a way where, everyone wants a dilutive, it's like, give me a 30-second meditation that's going to hack my day. And it's like, nah. It's not going to work. So here's what you need to do for 15 minutes. You could spread it out throughout your day, but I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I know works, right? And that's an adult way of doing it. Whereas, a lot of this kind of health industry is about just telling people what they want to hear and promising things that are untenable, right? It's not real. And I'm just tired of not real. I'm tired, there's just a lot of tricksters out there, and, you want to get better. Here's what we know works, right? I'm a doctor. Like I know this stuff. And so all the people that I hang with are smart doctors and smart PhDs and people who know what the hell is going on. And they're, in closed quarters, no one's saying, here's the 3 things you do for rock hard abs. That's not health.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the diet books that sell the most are the ones that say, keep doing what you're doing and you'll lose 50 pounds. Or totally. the Frito-Lays and chocolate cake diet. Or sometimes the harder truth is out there, but it's not sexy to say, drink your water, go to bed on time, meditate, all that stuff, even though it might work. So I'm curious then. So I'm looking at your book. It's got a lot of things in there. A lot of things stood out to me, especially on loneliness at the end there. I want to get into money, nature. There's a lot to talk about. But how do you set up the urban monk when someone picks up the book? Like, what's your kind of pitch to them that encapsulates what it's about?
This is for you, right? As a normal person, this isn't some sort of, guru trying to look cool, trying to talk big and get followers. I could care less about being a guru. I actually don't want gurus around. You know what I mean? This is about empowering the individual so that we can actually live in a society where people aren't like, oh, please protect me. Oh, please, tell me who to vote for. And it's just we've lost agency as a culture. And to have agency as a human being means you make decisions for yourself and you step up and you're in your personal power. And people are quick to give away their power nowadays, whether it's to the doctor or the therapist or to Donald Trump. It's just you lead. And that's not what this country was founded on, and it certainly isn't what's going to help us out in kind of the years to come, right? And so I want to make a point on something we were just talking about before we leave there, because the paleo movement's also been infected by some of this, which is like, oh yeah, just eat bacon, baby. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, and it's like, did you not get the part where Paleolithic man and woman were foraging for roots, shoots, and tubers, and eating mostly vegetables and fiber, and then they'd pull down a deer now and again, and it was a party. I think a lot of people just want butter and bacon and think that that's paleo, and that's a disservice. And I know you guys aren't doing that, but there's a lot of people out there that are just tell them what they want, and so that's bullshit, right? Yeah. You got to eat vegetables. That's what our ancestors ate. Right?
Sorry to cut you up, but dessert cookbooks are the number one selling thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I want paleo cookies, baby. And so it's like, give me paleo Honey Nut Cheerios. Come on. Right. And it's just like, we don't want to get out of the same kind of snacking habits, yet we want to, like, you know, be under a label that makes us feel okay about what we do. And so it's just, you know, everyone's in a trance. Everyone is walking around in an absolute trance, oblivious of the decisions that they're making. And so when we look at trying to get people to wake up, it's really about waking up out of the scripts that they think are part of kind of this narrative. It's like, oh, no, now I'm paleo. That defines me. And these are paleo cookies, so I'm just going to eat them without thinking, right? And so you got to look at what it implies. It implies going back to your roots. It implies going back to nature. It implies eating things that come from the ground and really spending time with raw vegetables and you know, the things that we would have had access to in our ancestry. And, you know, some processing plant that, like, chucks out paleo cookies. I'm not quite sure if that's where we're going here.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems too that there's a lot of talk about lifestyle practices now getting put into place. Like, you know, this show, we have a lot of people coming on talking about nutrition approaches, but there's, at the end of the day, a reason some people just crave sugar or can't give up drinking or smoking or whatever they're doing. And it has nothing to do with the information out there. And a lot of it can be managed as well through lifestyle practices like you're talking about in your book. And so I enjoyed looking through some of those. And the first one was talking about time and the art of mastering time. I'll leave that one kind of open-ended. You can go wherever you want with that.
So one of the things that, you know, everyone's suffering from stress. And when we kind of unpack what stress looks like in the modern world, a lot of it comes from time compression, right? I was just having a conversation with my team about this at lunch today, actually, which was, hey, you know, this week is a little stressful because I have a full schedule, but there's a couple things that are off my calendar that keep, like, cramming in. Like, I got a guy calling right now trying to get a hold of me. It's like, well, I'm at lunch or I have this other thing going on. And so when you try to compress too many items in a given timeline, it creates stress. And so sometimes that happens in an organization and it's fine. But if you have a tendency to do that, to say yes to things, it's like, hey, we're going to go for a hike, but during that hike, we're going to record a podcast and fly a drone and, you know, talk about your personal life offline. How the hell is that all going to happen at the same time? Well, that's what we do every day in our schedules. And then that compression of time creates this thing that we perceive as stress, which is like, holy shit, how am I going to get to all this? And the relationship we have with time. I mean, look, time's pretty cool. Like, I'm not wearing my timepiece right now. It's, you know, I got this one charging. It's my little Apple Watch, which is just a glorified watch as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't do crap.
Sleep tracker.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know, might as well just wear a Fitbit. But so, you know, I use that to basically be on time for this podcast. I use that to be on time for, you know, commitments in societal time. But it really isn't the moniker of where my consciousness needs to be as I kind of step out of time. So I will take time throughout the day to catch my breath. I will take time to kind of breathe in and really drink from infinity and leverage my ability to shift my consciousness and my perception of time so that I can relax deeply. And I think most people don't do that. It's like, oh, you know, I'm all stressed out. Let me just double click my meditation app and, like, you know, I think I feel better, right? Versus really understanding what meditation is and really understanding what the kind of far-reaching implications are, which is the cultivation of your consciousness and understanding that you're way more than your physical body. You're way more than this, like, you know, train going down the tracks today, and to step in and connect with something real so that you're in that timeless space. And all you need to do is spend a couple minutes there, and then you gain perspective. You could come back and be like, okay, I get it. The phone's ringing a lot today.
Huh. Yeah.
Right? It's not, you know, I don't need to jump out of a window. It's just, you know, the phones are ringing a lot and there's a problem in customer service. Like, we'll deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, you said a lot there that I wanted to hit on, and I guess the point that first stood out to me is being wound up all the time. And even, you know, perfect example, you go to the bathroom, but you take your iPhone with you, and you're constantly on it, constantly busy. And I'm not talking about other people, I'm talking about myself. Like, this is a problem Clark has, and I'll be laying in bed and in between like a Netflix show or whatever, just checking my iPod or iPhone, Instagram while I'm watching Netflix. And there's always like 5 different things going on at once. So I think what I heard you say is that all those different things going on at once are causing a lot of stress, because even when we're trying to unwind, like sitting and watching Netflix, we're still doing like 5 other things at once and we never turn it off.
Well, I'd like to say I'm going to call you out on something here. Watching Netflix isn't unwinding. Watching Netflix is watching Netflix, and watching anything in bed is jacking into your sleep patterns. So I'm going to invite you to reconsider your consumption of media in bed. The bed is for making love and sleeping, and that's a problem we have in our modern culture. Is these blue lit devices? Even if you have like the blue blockers and all this, these devices are making it into places that we're supposed to have less stimulation. And it's all this damn stimulation that is overwhelming the psyche, right? Our consciousness gets pressure cooked with all of this news. And, let's go back to Paleolithic times. You basically, you sit around a fire, you might play some drums. If you're lucky, you get laid, you go to bed, right? That's it. It's dark. The predators are out there. You're not supposed to be out there. Your eyes suck compared to that of a coyote, right? And so we are forced to kind of hunker down, get okay with the dark, and revel in the silence. And that's where physiologically we've kind of been able to kind of downshift and decelerate into this thing called sleep. And if we have the noise still going at night, and then eventually we shut off the lights and we're like, okay, it's time for sleep. It's like, okay, why am I not sleeping? Why am I not sleeping? It's still fast, right? And some people are good at it. Like I can't. Like I just, if I watch a movie or something, I go to bed, that movie's playing on the like screen of my mind for like a couple hours. I have dreams and sleep disturbance and all that. And so I don't stand a chance. Like we decelerate about a couple hours before bed, and then you get quality sleep, right? And like I have rituals for my kids where we do things for them to fall asleep, yet we forget to do it for ourselves as adults.
Sure. So then what's your prescription or recommendation of the right way to go to bed?
Yep. A couple hours before sleep, all devices off. I'd say get all the electronics out of your bedroom. No phones in bed, no iPads in bed, no TV in bed. Read a book. We like to have candlelight. You use candlelight in the evenings. It really helps decelerate. It brings back some sort of real primal juju that effectively puts your consciousness in this other place where it's like, oh, right, okay, it's nighttime. We're slowing down now, right? Keep it cool and dark, all that kind of stuff, but no bills in bed, no kind of stimulation other than like say sex in bed, and then you cuddle and you go to sleep. Right. And that's it. That's it. Keep it simple and bring that simplicity, pay that simplicity forward into your next day, because we have this tendency to overly complicate and layer complicated solutions to problems because we feel like there's so much going on. And often the solution set is a simple one that resolves this kind of array of complexity that is plaguing us in the modern world.
So do you follow any of those prescriptions that talk about like getting Wi-Fi out of your house, except for when you're using it, like turning it off and doing all that?
I know a lot of people who do. I've recommended it for people who have like energy sensitivities. We have, I've recommended Faraday cages for people, lead lining their walls. Some people are really sensitive to EMF, and there's companies out there that'll come in like retrofit your house and like literally create like an electromagnetic cave for your bedroom. And, I've places that I have like my meditation room where it's just completely like dark in that. And I see tremendous results with it. So I think that there's something there. I think that, we don't know enough about all these lights and whiz bang things buzzing around.
Yeah.
And, look, the ocean hangs right around 7 hertz, right? Mm-hmm. Our alpha rhythm in our brain is right around 7 hertz. The home cordless phone is 2.4 gigahertz, right up next to your parietal lobe. And so we don't know what the hell that's doing, but I don't want to find out by getting a brain cancer diagnosis. Like I think I'd rather just go for a hike.
My grandma back in the day, she gave me she's super into everything everything health to the point of conspiracy. Like, she takes it to the nth degree. Alex Jones homepage, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But she's right about a lot of things. And she's ahead of the curve. And I remember like 10, 20 years ago, maybe, I think when cell phones were just coming out, she gave me a little chip to put on the back of my iPhone. It was an EMF blocker. Are there any sort of EMF things you can DIY, like for your own cave, if you want to experiment it with it, or you just recommend getting someone in there to do it for you?
Well, no, I mean, like iron mesh will do it. There's certain things that, like, so if you just look up EMF blockers, a lot of technology out there. A Faraday cage is like a completely like dead zone for EMF, but creating a Faraday cage in an entire room could be a little pricey. I know there's people playing with different kind of like paints that will block, have iron. And so it's a little wild west, but I got to say the people that have really needed it, I've had a lot of people that have been like electronically sensitive over the years, and I've recommended stuff like that. It's might have cost them $5-10 to like retrofit their bedroom. And they're like, dude, I'm like reversing aging. Like I'm sleeping better and better every night. Like I just feel like I have life back. So, I mean, think about it. If sleep is the fountain of youth, if you could get it.
How do you, oh, sorry. Did you finish?
Yeah, I was just saying, if you could get it and your body gets what it needs at night, then every single day you're just like, boom, come on, let's go. Right.
How do you tell if you're sensitive to EMFs? Is there like checklists?
You just get like agitated around technology. You feel like, some people get headaches, some people's eyes get weird. Some people get like, just kind of like weird sensations around their tech. It's a growing concern, and the science out there is really kind of sketchy. I mean, you look at a lot of these things and they're just like, I don't know, we can't find anything like, maybe unless you like live under the power lines, we don't know what's going on. But, then again, we still don't know what's going on with acupuncture, yet we know it works. So there's all sorts of subtle vibratory things that are happening, as our bones are formed and our nerves conduct, and all sorts of things that are happening physiologically in our body that we don't really understand the electromagnetics of yet. And so all I know is there's tons of anecdotal evidence that this stuff works, and there's millions of people that are complaining about sensitivity to EMFs, and many of which who do stuff like this and get better. So to me, that's like, oh, that's interesting. I know the science isn't quite there yet, but it's something worth looking at.
Yeah. Talking about winding down sleep, tracking it, getting everything optimized to rest. I know the opposite of that is stress, which we were talking about earlier. And in the your book, you talk about what happened to sleep and that cortisol is like a credit card when you're talking about cortisol. I like that analogy. Can you kind of talk about that analogy? I'll let you riff on that.
So if my brain senses that it needs energy, and that's usually in the form of sugar, right? Like burning energy, ATP, to get keep the show going. Usually that means go get me food, dummy. And it's like, no, can't you see I'm doing this podcast right now? Can't you see I'm working on this document? Can't you see I'm watching Netflix while playing on my iPhone? It's like, I'll eat later. Then it's like, all right, I'm going to call on the adrenals to secrete cortisol, to then go get some of our glycogen reserves, turn that into energy, and like keep it going. It's like a line of credit. And it works pretty effectively through our 20s, maybe into our 30s if we're lucky. But you know what? There's an interest rate on that. And so we keep swiping and we keep swiping, and we don't like go have good nights of sleep. It's like, think about it. You're in college and like you work your ass off. You pull like all these all-nighters to get through finals week, and then spring break, baby. You just go party, right? It's like, when do you catch up on your sleep? When do you actually rest? And so that's kind of a mark of our culture. And so eventually you don't rest, you don't feed, you don't pay back the debt. So your adrenals keep borrowing and borrowing. And then eventually your cortisol levels start to get skewed. Your hormones start to go off. You start using adrenaline and noradrenaline instead. And it becomes this hot mess where then your sleep is messed up. You can't get an erection. Your hormones are off as a female. And it just goes downhill pretty quickly, like in the 30s and 40s, and you don't feel it in your 20s because like you're bulletproof, right? And it's one of those things that you don't see the damage because it's happening internally until all of a sudden you just feel empty inside. And I see that more often than I'd like to say in clinical settings. And so, it's something that I really had to kind of write about to intercept in the book, because it's absolutely preventable. And it just has to do with adjusting your burn rate and living a life with less frantic chaos, right? We're just too wound up, man.
So what are some more action steps you always recommend people try out if they're feeling really wound up? We were talking about sleep and optimizing your environment for that. Anything else?
Sure, lots. But one of the easiest places to start is lower diaphragmatic breathing, right? And I talk about millions of different techniques in the book that help. Once you understand the why, then you could get into the techniques. But if you take even 3 minutes to breathe down, lower belly breathing, and really fill up the lower abdomen on the inhale, and then deflate it on the exhale, and really slow down and get into it. What happens is a physiological trigger, which moves us from sympathetic fight or flight nervous system directly into parasympathetic rest and digest, which means send blood to the part of the brain that makes us more human, that helps us make better decisions. It means help digest that food, help heal my cells, clear the leaky gut, all the good stuff that we need. We can't go there when the bullets are flying. And so there's lots of techniques I show in the book to kind of just pop in the clutch and go to that space. But if you don't learn how to go to that space, I don't care how much kale you eat, I don't care how much coconut oil you slather all over yourself, you are not allowing your body to go into a place where it can heal, because the Gestapo is at the door and you're absolutely panicked all the time because the world is ending. And that's where we are psychologically, under the duress of cortisol and this kind of energy economics that are faulty, that almost all of us are running in the modern world.
So the lower diaphragmatic breathing, I've heard it described as when you're looking at infants come out, they're not breathing from their chest, they're just breathing from their belly. It moves up and down. So that's a good analogy for what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And a lot of the ancient Taoist texts speak very specifically about that. They're like, look, this kid was born, they knew, right? And it's just this whole deep diaphragmatic breathing where the entire cycle of breath is pulling the diaphragm down. It's basically doing all sorts of wonderful things to not only tell and signal the adrenals to chill, it signals the entire nervous system to say, this animal is relaxed, and therefore let's move back into a peacetime economy. Right? Versus a wartime economy. We all live in a wartime economy. What happens in a wartime economy? All the money goes to Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, and we don't have money for books and bridges and roads, right? Healthcare doesn't get any money when you're fighting a war, and that's where we live, right? Individually and as a culture, we live in this crisis mode, and you're only a few breaths away from stepping out of that mode, and it's just a decision away. And there's nothing anyone can do to put you there. You have to be able to go there yourself. And that's really, the central message is, there's no guru that's going to do it for you. There's no pill that's going to do it for you. There's no magic supplement that's going to do that for you. You have to become conscious enough to recognize how you're feeling and then slow down and tap into that other place. And then you're free.
And so do you do that while you're meditating? Is that kind of like your meditation practice as well?
I'm doing that right now, right? I'm doing it all the time. And that's the point is, yes, I'll sit down and do meditation for first 2-3 minutes. I'll kind of drop the breath and lower in and kind of focus the eyes on the tip of the nose and just kind of drop in. And then I'll do Qigong and all sorts of internal work. But really, I won't do it until I've quieted the mind and gone into that space. But the moral of the story is, don't just think that the meditation is it. That's not your watering hole. That's where you go to learn the skills. But then you carry that into your day with you. That's how you breathe. That's how you roll. Keeping the tip of the tongue touching the roof of the mouth and just staying in lower diaphragmatic breath allows me to do all the stuff that we talked about when we first started. I'm a busy dude, but I don't go crazy because I stay in my calm zone and I get good work done and I get a lot of work done.
Yeah. When we're talking about meditation and mindfulness, it's definitely been getting a lot of talk in the last 3 years. All sorts of apps are coming out like Headspace and Calm, and people are going crazy with it. it's easier said than done. And I know that I've tried to incorporate meditation as much as I can. And I go through months where I'm doing it every day, gold star, and then months where I'm not doing it at all. So I guess there's two separate things. The first one, which we can start with, is what is your definition or prescription or recommendation for mindfulness or meditation? And then the second one is, how do we continue to do it?
Yep. So mindfulness and meditation. So the example I would use is your desktop. And you look at your desktop and see how many open windows you have. And you go, oh, wow, my performance is slow. I'm not getting what I said I was wanting to do done. I'm distracted and I'm sluggish. What I should do is come over, grab my mouse and double click meditation and be like, okay, close down the meditation app, go back to 15 open windows. And that, I think, is kind of fundamentally why meditation hasn't worked for the West for a lot of people, because it's been taught wrong. Meditation should be the virus checker being like, hey, dummy, you have 43 open windows. Like, how the hell is that serving you? Weren't you working on this document? Close and save everything else. Get your instant messenger off. Get your Skype off. And just stay focused on what you're doing. Finish it, save it, close it, move on to the next thing. As a matter of fact, when you're done, once you go outside, do 50 jumping jacks and stretch a little bit, drink some water, and come back and do the next thing one at a time. So meditation is what should be your operating system, the mindfulness of being like, hey, what am I doing right now? Like, do I need to be doing all that? Like, why am I checking my Skype? Like, I'm supposed to be doing this other thing, but I keep getting distracted because the guys want to go get a drink, and all the things that pop up. That's how the mind works. So these monitors, these screens, they're just a reflection of our own consciousness. And so that is the primary interface. Is I meditate on my cushion to kind of go to that place so that I have access to that place when the bullets are flying later in the day or later in the week. And so I have that as like my safe haven. That's like the watering hole. And to your second question, I would say I've been teaching and practicing something called a gong for about 20 years now, which is 100 days of dedicated practice along whatever lines that you choose for yourself. And so if you say, look, I'm going to meditate every day for 100 days, that's your gong. And you say, okay, well, what's that like? Is it going to be 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the duration is? You make that deal with yourself. And then every single day you check off the list and say, look, I did it. And then when you finish the 100 days, you've hit the gong. And what that does is, it gives you a win and kind of builds the discipline, and it also starts to create little micro habits and behavior. And so, like, I'll finish a gong, and then the next day I'll get up and I'll be like, woohoo, party day. And I'll just get up and naturally start doing my qigong and sit and meditate because I just feel better doing it, right? So you build micro habits with goals that are kind of lined up with your purpose. And in doing so, you get much more clarity on why you're doing it. And then you also like gamify it so that you actually are like really paying attention to your discipline. Because one of our biggest challenges is we're just so easily distracted. And by setting up something to make a deal with yourself, you can stay focused. And the more you do that, the more you get your focus to line up with your willpower. That's when you could become a real causative person. You could really change things on the planet.
I guess then for the person who's never tried meditating and they hear it and they're like, I've been hearing so much about it. You know what? After this call, I'm going to give it a shot. What would you recommend they start out doing? Any practice or method?
I mean, I got a great one. I have a bunch of free stuff that I've created for my students. I could give a link to that, but it's easy. It's theurbanmonk.com/reboot. I have a thing called 4-count breathing in there, which literally walks you through a basic meditation where you're counting and observing your mind and your breath, and just kind of shows you the basics. And it's like, all right, have fun. Now you know how to meditate. You don't have to dress in Lululemon. You don't have to change your name to Krishna. You don't have to get all weird. Just breathe. Right? It's like, I think people have made it all culturally weird and you have to be a different person to meditate. Well, I know some of the captains of industry and some of the most successful people I know, and I've been consulting Fortune 100 CEOs for a long time. They're coming to me asking how to meditate, and they're still wearing suits. You know what I mean? It's just about your inner state, not about your outer identity, which I think is a real kind of challenge with the with how the West takes things on anyways. Like, oh, now I'm a yoga person. Now I'm a meditation person. No, you don't even know who you are. Just breathe. Right? Yeah. None of us do.
Yeah. And so you don't have any particular school of meditation, like transcendental or mantras or any of that?
There's tons of good stuff out there, and, different strokes for different folks. I'm not, like I said, what the right meditation is what's the right meditation for you, right? And so, I'm not the guy that's like, no, you should do Pedram style meditation because that guy wants your money. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much of that crap out there. I think TM is great. I think 4-count breathing is great. I think, yantra, mantra, qigong, tai chi, yoga, any way up the mountain you can. If you're like super Christian, just pray. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways to do this. But the moral of the story is it doesn't work unless you do it.
Yeah. Switching gears, I was looking at Prosperity, the new documentary you're in the process of. Can you kind of set that up? What's Prosperity all about? Why is that such a passion for you?
So when I made my first movie, Vitality, it was really like, me as a healthcare CEO being like, what the hell are we doing? Like, I only get paid when people are sick. There's a strong financial disincentive to actually get these people well. This isn't right livelihood. This isn't for me, right? So I left and I made a movie about like the healthcare system and like how we, snap out of it. And then a couple of years later, I followed with Origins, which was like, why are we so damn sick? And it's like, wow, look at all the 70 million pounds of chemicals that we're adding to our environment every day. And wait, well, there's this and there's that and these endocrine disruptors and holy crap, like we're doing it, right? And then we started to follow the money because really I started looking at how do we fix this? And it really had to do with like the entire economy and how we run this thing called the economy. And I met amazing people and have been in these incredible dialogues with not only like these heroes that are doing it right, but, just behavioral scientists and really kind of like top level thinkers that are working on solutions to fix and change how we actually approach this whole thing and create a whole other sector in the economy that is in this kind of like benefit space. And so it's been fascinating. And like, I've just like next week, I'm on these like remote islands in Panama with a tribe called the Kuna, because there's something about how, and I don't want to spoil any part of the movie here, but, there's this supply chain hack where they cut out all the middlemen. And now there's like this abundance coming right back to the tribe and the things that are happening for the tribe and what are happening for the customers and the company that's doing the right thing. And this just this wonderful virtuous circle or spiral, if you will, of goodness that we can help support and we can be a part of. And it's just, we don't see it. You don't see it when you turn on CBS or ABC because they're sponsored by the companies that are the polluters. And so there's this whole other world that has already emerged that it's my duty to put my cameras on because it's happening and we're just helping it happen faster because I got kids and I wanted them to have grandkids and I want them to remember what a tree looks like.
Yeah. It was fascinating in there. You're talking about externalities and like the hidden costs of shipping a Prius from China over to America, back to Europe, or gathering all the materials and, all that shipping costs. It adds up over time. And who's paying for that pollution and all the environmental impact that has as well. I remember hearing that back in the day when a Prius first came out, it was so like to gather it and get all the materials and everything had more of an environmental impact than like driving a Land Rover from start to finish or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the battery more than anything, right? Because like, what the hell do we do with this thing? And so we don't look at those. And, like the classic example is like you have an externality around, say, like a coal plant and you're like, okay, well, we're just producing energy. You're like, great. So what about the pollution, the cost of the pollution, the mercury, the toxicity and all this? Well, that falls on the commons, right? That falls on society to deal with. And so what we're seeing is this really big delta where there's business up in one corner, like all for profit and doing stuff. And then there's like, government and .orgs, which are trying to like fix the world's problems. And the corporations are making all this money. Maybe if we're lucky, they kick down 1% of profits, which come like, with strings attached for the governments to like, they put in their own lobbyists, their own politicians, and they also, support certain .orgs. And then what that does is there's like last I checked, there's about a $6 trillion delta in the cost of kind of fixing some of these problems. And so the more we grow the economy, the more this cancer grows. And so we're at this place now where it's like we're fundamentally having to rethink how we run this thing called our economy, because what we have been doing just simply isn't working.
And so that's what the movie's going to go into, is kind of action steps and how to do
Big
that
time.
or explore.
Yeah. I'm not interested in getting people angry. Like, I'm interested in actually promoting the solutions that we've already identified, and really showing what these heroes are doing. And I got to say, like, it's been a long week, and I cannot help but be elated by what's happening, because I'm with these people. Like, I'm filming in these really kind of intimate settings with heroes who are doing just incredible work, and it's happening right now. Like, there's a better way for us to do this. Like, you don't have to make a deal with the devil. You can live your life healthfully and also support a world that supports you back without thinking, God, I just created more toxic gas or cancer on the planet.
Yeah. And so where can people go to find out more about Prosperity?
Well.org/prosperity goes to kind of the Indiegogo page, and like lots of information about it. We're just getting going with all this. I mean, filming it like crazy, but I'm very, very involved in it, and we're just trying to bring our audience and our fans involved in getting them involved in just the bigger picture of what this thing's about, because this isn't my movie, this is our movie, right? This is about all of us. And I got to say, God, it's just, it's really easy to get kind of doom and gloomy and like depressed about what's up with the world. I'm here to say that there are amazing, amazing people doing amazing things and really bringing solutions to us that are absolutely like fundamentally changing all of this doom and gloom stuff. But if we don't support them, the bad guys win, right? So It's really about us being, locking arms and doing it for humanity.
Closing question, Pedram. Looking at 2015, what's something, or 2016, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned?
You can't get it back. I got 2 young kids, and, I got a busy lifestyle. And so I had to really just kind of make decisions and be like, look, am I going to be here as the father that I want to be, that they deserve to have, and really spend the quality time with them, and say no to lots of things that keep emerging on like the work landscape. Although, I'm already doing too much. I've been saying no to a lot of things, because it's like, my kids are growing teeth, and things are happening, and they're getting new words, and you don't get those days back, and you can't buy those regrets off. So it's really about having the work-life balance to be the whole person you need to be, so that life doesn't pass you by. Great lesson.
The Urban Monk. Get it on Amazon, well.org, to find out more about the meditation we went over today, and Prosperity. Any other places you want to send them?
Yeah, so well.org/prosperity for the movie, well.org generally for like just all sorts of cool health information, theurbanmonk.com for all the Urban Monk stuff, including the reboot. So you go under there, and I got like meditation, Qigong, Tai Chi, all kinds of like just cool resources for free. And, I'm here to help. Like I love what I do, and, I'm not the person, I'm not a tow truck. I'm here to teach you how to be a powerful person unto yourself. And, just basically join the party. I don't need followers. I need friends. And so let's do this together. And that's kind of what I'm in this for. Like, it's our world.
Awesome stuff, Pedram. Thanks so much for coming on again, man. This was a fascinating call all about de-stress and unwinding. Enjoyed talking to you today, man.
Cheers, Clark. Always a pleasure.
Pedram Shojai, everyone. His book, The Urban Monk, you can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or go to well.org and get it over there as well. Fascinating stuff, incorporating Eastern wisdom into our modern, traffic-ridden, air-polluted, toxic world. I try not to stress out too much about it. I try to do the best I can. That's what this show's all about, guys. It's not about doing it perfect 100% of the time. It's about trying to improve ourselves every little day and incorporate things like the sleep hacks we talked about, managing your stress like a credit card, becoming aware of things so that we have the power to change our health. This week's rating and review, we are not reading one because we are all caught up. Please go over to iTunes if you like this show. Leave us a rating and a review in the box there on the show page. I think it takes like 2 minutes and it helps us out a ton. And you get your review read on air. Pretty cool. Announcements, social media, at Paleohacks, that's Paleohacks, and then at Clark Dangerous, that's Clark Danger OUS, on all the social platforms for us. Paleohacks.com, of course, if you want more articles, recipes, and the archives of these shows from day one. All our episodes are listed over there. Go knock yourself out. I dare you to start from episode 1 and catch up to where we currently are. Do it. It'll be fun. Last thing, mybestjournal.com. This is a course that will change your life in 4 hours. I put this together all about using that little $5, $6, $7 journal you get in a store, how you can use it to become the best tool you've ever used for self-growth and development. Got lots of workshops in this course I put together, including the 11 questions change your life, the 6 best journal exercises out there, and the complete book list of the 10 best books you can read. All that's over there at mybestjournal.com. Thank you so much for listening, guys. It means a lot. I love getting your feedback on this show. Next week, we got Jonathan Baylor coming on to talk about the sane diet. Discover the world's healthiest foods using just 4 letters. I'll see you next Thursday. Thanks so much.